Alright guys, so in this video we're going to talk about what are called chips in Materialize, and we're also going to look at pagination. So chips are basically like tags. If you see a blog post and it has tags at the end, basically containing keywords about that post, chips are a good way to display those. Alright, so let's say we had a blog post about web design, web development, and we had some keywords here. They're just wrapped in single divs. What we could do is give these each a class of chip. All right, so we'll give that a class. This one we'll say class chip, and this one we'll also give a class of chip. And just doing that, if I save, you'll see that that looks pretty nice. So if we have this at the bottom of a post, it looks nice. It's a nice way to display tags. Now we can also make it so that we can get rid of them. We can actually close them out. So again, if we were to give these a class of chip, and I'll just copy this div here and we'll add it to these, and then also have an icon. So for this we'll do class, and we'll give it a class of material-icons and close. All right, so let's grab that and put those here as well. If I save, we have our little X. Now, just doing that isn't going to make them work. It's also not going to make them look right. You also want to add a class of close here in the actual I tag. Okay, which we don't usually do, but in this case we do. So let's save that. Now you'll see they look much better, and we can actually close the chips. Okay, they come back if we reload, because obviously we're not like persisting data or anything like that. But yeah, so we can close the chips up. All right, we can also use images with chips. So we'll just grab one of these divs here and add the class, and then we could add an image. So let's say image/image1.jpg, and for this one, let's do image2. And for this one, we'll do image3. So if we go ahead and save that, now you'll see that we have our chips and we have little images. A good reason to have this would be for avatars. If you were to have people and you had their little avatar there. Okay, maybe even just one on a blog post, the author or whatever. So we can also have inputs where we can have autocompletes, and we can actually add chips to the input. A good reason for this would be a blog post form where you were adding these tags, and maybe you had a list of or a database full of tags that you wanted to come up automatically. So all we would have to do is take a div and go ahead and give it a class of chips-input. And if I save that, nothing's going to happen. We're actually going to have to add some JavaScript. So we're going to go down to where we put our JavaScript. And from here, we're going to use a little jQuery. And we're going to take that chips, chips-input. And we want to call .material_chip, like that. And if I save it, you'll see that it just gives us a line, text line. And if I type something in and hit enter, it turns into a chip, and we can actually get rid of them as well. So really cool. There's actually quite a few options we can add as well. If we put some curly braces here, so we could put a placeholder. This takes a string, so we could say enter a tag and save, and you'll see now it says enter a tag. We could do a secondary placeholder. Oh, this should actually be secondary uppercase P placeholder, and we'll say plus tag and save. And what this does is if I add a tag and enter, you'll see that now right here it says plus tag. So every time I enter, it'll say plus tag after it. All right, we also have autocomplete options. So let's say autocomplete complete options, and here we can put an object that takes a data object, and let's say HTML. Actually, this should be in the form of a string, so HTML, and set that to null. Let's say CSS, and let's say JavaScript. Alright, so if I were to save that and I were to start to type HTML, let me just click in here. So you'll see we get the drop down. If I do a C, we'll CSS and JavaScript will come up because they both have a C. If I click S, then just CSS. And if I click on the drop down, it'll get added as a tag. Alright, and I think that's pretty much it as far as really useful options. Now another thing you can do is you can add an event for when you add a chip. So let's say add, actually let's do uppercase, we'll say add chip event. So if we have our chips input, or chip dash input, we can do dot on, and then we have an event called chip dot add, and then we put a function here for when that happens, and this would take in an event and then the chip, and let's do a console log. Alright, and I'm just going to put some backticks in here. I'm going to use a template string so that I can put a variable in my string. So I'll say you added a chip, and then here we'll put a variable so we can use this syntax. This is ES6 JavaScript syntax, and we can say chip.tag. Alright, so now if I add something here, let's say hello. Actually, let's open up our console with F12. So we'll say hello and hit enter. That didn't work. Let's see. Oh, I forgot the dot. It should be class chip input. Or is it chips? Yeah, I guess it's chips input. So hello. There we go. So you added a chip hello. If we say test, you added a chip test. So if for some reason you want something to happen in your JavaScript when a chip is added, you could do that. Okay, it could get added to a database or you know, through an API or whatever it is that you want to do. All right, so now we're going to take a look at pagination, which is pretty easy. It's just a couple classes we need to add. Basically, we just have a UL with a bunch of LIs with an A tag, and the first and last one have icons. Okay, so they have I tags. So what we'll do is add a class to the UL of pagination, and this first list item here, I'm going to give a class of disabled, and we're going to give this an icon. This is going to be the left icon, so it's going to be chevron underscore left, and of course we need to give it the class of material icons. All right, and then each list item here, we're going to give a class of waves dash effect. Okay, and I'm just going to copy this, and each beginning list tag I'm going to add that class to. Okay, and then for this icon here, we're going to give it a class of material icons, and we're going to make this one a chevron underscore right. So let's save that. So there's our pagination. Now you'll have an active page number that you're on. So let's say we want 2 to be the active. What we would do is just add the class of active and save, and now you can see that that's active. And the waves class, you'll see if I click, it'll give it that effect. All right, so it's as easy as that to create pagination in your UI. Obviously, you know, with your back-end programming or whatever it is you're doing, you'll have to add that logic, but this gives you the UI. All right, guys, so that's it. In the next video, we're going to take a look at preloaders.